Halas Huddlers, this is it. The road doesn't get easier. The Bears are coming off another fourth quarter comeback. Heart rates are still up. City is still buzzing. And now the divisional round comes to Chicago. The Rams are in town, but so is Bear weather. Wind, cold, maybe snow, and a stadium that knows exactly what time it is. This team doesn't flinch late. They don't blink under pressure, and they don't lose when the moment gets heavy. This isn't just a playoff game. It's a test of toughness, belief, and who survives when the temperature drops. I'm Rob Schwarz with Bear Goggles On. Joined with me tonight is my good friend and co-host, Justin Onayemi. This is the Halas Huddle, where playoff football lives.
Oh, that's got to be new because it hasn't lived here in the past, and we're happy it's here now. All right, well, if you're as happy as we are, please like, comment, and subscribe to this video. We got a lot we're going to talk about, so why don't we dive right in? Although, before we actually do, Rob, we talked on the postgame, myself and Bob, about how you didn't get to experience this game how most people did. So I haven't even heard from you directly how you experienced it. So real quick, what was the experience for you?
Yeah, so just real quick, let me lay it real fast, out really fast. So my wife and I went to Florida. We did this thing called the Dopey Challenge. I ran 48.6 miles over 4 days. We had to get up at 12:45 in the morning Eastern time to run a full marathon on Sunday. Okay, this was the Sunday after the Saturday night game. What's funny is I tried to stay up. I watched the very first drive. The Bears went up 3-0. I'm like, all right. This is a positive note. I feel good about it. I'm going to go to bed in a good mood, right? I'm going to go to bed in a good mood. I have no idea what's going to happen. Turn my phone off. I wake up at 12:45 Eastern, 11:45 your guys' time, right, here in Chicago. And I got Bob texting, Gary texting, like all these texts are coming. I'm like, there's no way people are still up. And I'm like, wait a second, it's 11:45. Of course people are still up because the Bears came back, put 25 points up in the fourth quarter to win against the Packers. I was like in shock to see the box score. I'm like, holy crap. I can't wait to get ready. What we did is I went to the corrals. We had to sit there for 2 hours in not too bad of weather. It was about 45 to 55 degrees. Wasn't too bad.
Wasn't bear
weather. It wasn't bear weather. Not even close. I sat in the corral and watched the replay on my phone, and people around me were a little bit confused because obviously I'm not wearing any Bears stuff. I'm here wearing Disney gear, and I'm cheering, I'm shouting just as if I'm watching it live. It was fantastic.
I was wondering because to know the outcome and then to rewatch it, I wish we had known the outcome. I mean, we kind of thought it because this is what the Bears have done, but we still kept saying, you can't do that recipe in the playoffs. It will not work in the playoffs. And we'll talk later about this upcoming game against the Rams. Don't dig a hole. Just don't dig a hole. All right. Take us through this, Rob. Start us off.
Yeah. So, guys, is there a feud developing between Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur? What's really interesting, and let's put this out there. Matt LaFleur's contract is up, right? Like he's got, I think, 1 year left. They're trying to get an extension done. They're not meeting in the middle at this point. I do think they'll probably get something done, but it'll be real interesting if this ends up being Matt LaFleur's last year as the Green Bay Packers coach, as the Chicago Bears seem to be turning the tides. But there was this whole thing that went down when it came to Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur. But I think it's kind of being fueled more by Packers fans and former players within the NFL, Packers media. I've already called out ESPN Milwaukee. Those guys are a bunch of knuckleheads up there and have a clue what they're talking about half the time. But everyone's up in arms about the fact that there's this handshake that takes place between Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur at the end of the game. And people are saying Ben Johnson screaming in his face and does this quick and then runs away. First of all, let's go back when the Green Bay Packers beat the Chicago Bears earlier in the season, the first meeting that they had. You go back and watch that video, and I didn't get a chance to put the clips together for this episode. You go back and watch this video. Matt LaFleur does the same damn thing. He runs up. barely shakes the guy's hand, taps him on the back as he walks away. In this case, Ben Johnson, and you see it in these NFL clips, right? They had these NFL clips that are out there where guys are mic'd up. This was the most emotion that I have seen from Ben Johnson in his stoic face, where he has like this poker face. No one knows how he's feeling. He's literally yelling on that last play, get his ass, get his ass, get his ass, right? Like he just sounds like one of us, a fan on the side. The guy, Love almost throws an interception. I don't know how Kyler Gordon drops that ball in the end zone, but it doesn't matter because it's the last play. And Ben Johnson's running out there because he's pumped up with adrenaline, and he quickly shakes LaFleur's hand. He's not yelling at LaFleur. He's still yelling, and then runs off to go with his teammates. In fact, there's a player right behind him. I can't remember who it was, right behind him as this happens. But Packer fans and media are up in arms about this. Scott Van Pelt, like there's so many people like up in arms about this, to the point where Packers fans created a petition that received more than 3,000 signatures. I don't know what it's up to now, that they essentially want Ben Johnson to issue an apology to Matt LaFleur about this handshake.
Well, you went way bigger into the handshake than I thought we ever would. I can't believe you were about to pull tape. Here's the thing. Like, I like that it's a rivalry. I mean, that's how this is supposed to be. And it's a complete opposite from Matt Eberflus at a Marquette game courtside with LaFleur. Like, that just looked weird to me. You know what I mean? So this goes the other way. I do not know why. Well, I do know why. But at his opening press conference, Ben Johnson just throws a stray at Matt LaFleur. But Lovie Smith did the same thing. Every Bears quarterback or coach comes in and says, we're going to beat the Packers. I mean, at least Ben Johnson is backing it up. So hopefully that gets us headed back towards maybe X's and O's instead of, or X's and O's are hugs and kisses, or just handshakes.
Just handshakes, apparently.
X's and O's in the field.
Well, there's more to it, though, too, Justin, because in the locker room, Ben Johnson comes out and says, fuck the Packers. I hate those guys, right? I mean, he's fueling his team. He's fueling this fan base, knowing that this is going to be released to social media. I mean, we've seen the good, better, best consistently after every single win. You know this is going to get put out there. And Packers fans are up in arms about this. You know, I sent it in our group chat. It's very confusing to me. And as a Bears fan who has been pummeled and pummeled and pummeled, and maybe we're just used to it by now, like, we've developed this thick skin because we knew that we were the little brother. We knew that we were constantly the losers against this team in the division for many, many years, outside of a few ups and blips of actual, you know, good gameplay. 2018, 2020, a little bit, right? And fans are like, Packer fans are so upset about all of this. The media, again, trying to fuel something that I think probably is just being a little bit overblown, but it's fun, at least for us as a fan base. Like you said, the rivalry is important. I think it's great for the NFL when the Bears and the Packers are just at each other's throats, aka Luther Burden to Kasim Nixon. Well, I wish I had that picture to put up there as he's just like choking him. It's just one of those things where, like, look, he shouldn't be issuing an apology. I don't care that he's swearing in the locker room. Apparently, George McCaskey and him are on the same page because it came up in one of his press conferences that people asked him about this. I want to say it might have been Mark. No, it wasn't Mark Potash. I don't remember who it was exactly. Somebody asked him, like, does George McCaskey approve of you doing this? Look, he said they're on the same page. This is what football's all about. I'm just glad to see that the Bears are finally turning the tides. I know it's one season. I hope this isn't a blip. It doesn't feel like a blip. I think things are finally starting to just even out, and hopefully Chicago can overtake the division for a long, long time.
All right, let's do it. So moving on Sunday.
Maybe moving on because there's a little bit of a connection here. Okay. Ben Johnson, is he becoming a villain? Because apparently Matt LaFleur has a lot of friends in the NFL, a lot of friends. And there's talk that the friendship connection here between Matt LaFleur and Sean McVay maybe there's a little bit added fuel for McVay to beat the Chicago Bears. He was asked about it in one of his press conferences leading up to this game this week. And he basically was asked, the Green Bay Packers, they play the Bears twice already this season in the regular season, now a third time in the playoffs. Has Matt LaFleur offered you any, insight into what is going on? He joked about it and said, look, they're preparing as normal, blah, 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 blah. And Matt LaFleur and I have talked, right? Like something along those lines. I'm just paraphrasing. I don't think Sean McVay needs any additional fire, any additional, insight or anything. The guy is one of the best coaches in the NFL. I think this is, again, just something being blown up. And I don't think Ben Johnson cares if he's becoming the villain of the NFC North or the NFC in general.
Well, I don't think you're a villain if you play and you lose all the games you play. So this comes with winning, I'm guessing. I have to add I'm guessing because we just have not seen it enough. And particularly, like you said, we haven't seen it sustain itself. You have the one good year and then back to mediocrity or worse. That doesn't make you a villain. So hopefully he becomes a villain because I imagine, not comparing them far too soon, obviously, but the 90s Bulls were villains to a lot of people. So, and I loved it from this side of things.
Yes. So this will be the first playoff matchup between the Rams and the Bears since 1986. Justin, do you know how that game finished by chance from 1986?
I believe it was a shutout by the Bears. I want to say it was 20-0, and it was the game where Wilbur Marshall scooped up that fumble and it started snowing while he ran in the touchdown.
That is a very good remember. It was actually 24-0, but that was a very, very good recall. Way to pull that out. Because we did not talk about this at all pre-show. I just put that out there.
We did not.
Yes, 24-0 shutout. Game kind of similar. Very cold in Chicago. It's actually going to be colder this weekend. Does that matter? Is bear weather a real thing for you, Justin? Do you think that's really a thing that's going to play an impact in this game?
My normal, quick response is that it's not, because we have all the players that come from, Georgia and Florida and Texas and all that. But when you're talking the whole season, you've been in this stuff. You've played many games in these conditions. And Matthew Stafford historically hasn't been as good in those situations. So I think in this situation, it does kind of favor the Bears. I guess it is bear weather. That being said, the next stadium should be a dome. I don't particularly like when games come down to the conditions, but will that help the Bears in this one game coming up? I do think so.
So I do think it's going to help in the sense that in the last 10 games, the Rams have put up 30 points, 30 or more points. Okay. I don't necessarily think that the weather is going to allow a team to do that. However, it was very cold in the Saturday night game and it was 31-27. So it definitely is a possibility that these two teams find a way to do it. But to your point, look, Matthew Stafford isn't a California guy. This isn't Jared Goff, who grew up in California, right? He played at Oklahoma, or I think it's Oklahoma. I know Detroit is a dome, but he played at Lambeau, once a year, Chicago once a year, Minnesota before it was a dome. They have plenty of players that have come throughout, like Devontae Adams was with Green Bay for the longest time. I'm trying to think of some of the other guys there, but there's plenty of people that are there. Now, I will say, I do think that there's a stat going around that since Matthew Stafford has been with the Rams, actually, I take that back. I don't think it has anything to do with it's since joining the Rams. Since Matthew Stafford has joined the Rams in cold, rain, or snowy games, his record is 1-9. His completion percentage drops whenever there's a temperature that goes below 20 degrees. Look, I think any quarterback's completion percentage is probably going to drop because as you're trying to throw the ball, one, it could be hard, which means it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to grip. But more likely, the receivers are going to get that ball cold, hard, hit them, and not catch it, right? So I think that is going to play an impact for both sides. But that 1-9 is a little bit overblown. And here's kind of where I come in here.
All right.
Okay.
Tell me how 1-9 is good. All right. Let me hear this.
Well, okay. So that doesn't just say freezing games, right? That 1-9 record people keep putting out there, it's just like weather games, right? So rain is a factor, stuff like that. But in his 6 career games where there's freezing temperatures, 32 degrees Fahrenheit or below, Stafford is 3-3. Okay. He's thrown 15 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions and a total of over 1,500 passing yards. So it's not like he can't perform in this type of game. Okay. He had a divisional game against the Eagles. Granted, it was a lot warmer. I think it was 34 degrees, which I think technically is not allocated to that 1-9 record because it was, or to that 6 games, right? It would have been in the 1-9 record, but didn't play a fact into the 6 games that were 32 and below. He threw for 324 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, he was able to play well. Hold on, I lost my stats here.
I don't know if it's only the cold that's really at play. I mean, if it's just cold, that's one thing. But when you talk about the fact that there could be wind to deal with, there could be precipitation, that's when things I think really could come down to, hey, that affects a passing game. Not to mention, Stafford is coming in with an injury, I believe, on his throwing hand. So, whatever that would have already been handling, I'm sure handling it in an indoor stadium, if this game had been played in LA, would have felt a little better than it's going to feel handling a sore finger when the wind chill's below 0 or at 0 or below.
Yeah, and Ben Johnson, it's been reported that Ben Johnson is
trying to control the weather.
Oh. Well, a little bit. I mean, I should say he's not trying to control the weather. He's not letting them use heaters. Like, they're practicing right now in this cold where you have the Rams practicing in, 70-degree balmy AC type weather, and they're not coming into Chicago until Saturday. So they are not going to feel the impact of that cold until they get here.
That's why Stafford's Rams record does matter, though. Because you're talking about like when your body is acclimated to one thing and to be startled by the other. So the fact that Devontae Adams played for the Packers 4 years ago, isn't going to help him this season. So we'll see.
True. But I mean, again, and this is going to kind of just be hypocritical because you just proved that point. But, Kyron Williams played at Notre Dame. Blake Corum played at Michigan. A lot of their players are used to playing in cold weather. But again, 3-3 in those 6 games, that doesn't look as bad as 1-9. I think people are just kind of putting that out there. One thing to note, Ben Johnson versus Sean McVay, 1-0, okay, as an offensive coordinator. So will that play a part? I don't know. It was just a random thing that I saw, and I threw it out there. Matthew Stafford in a dome, has a much better record than just outside, but he still has a winning record while outside. It's just much closer. So again, I think bear weather is important. I think bear weather is a nonsensical thing, right? I think you mentioned it in the beginning. Like, you normally would just say, like, it impacts people as people, right? Like, you don't play as fast usually. You don't play as hard. Like, you don't hit as hard usually. Like, and when you do hit hard, it hurts more. Like, there's things that impact your body just because we are human beings. Everyone feels that. The injury, he was dealing with that a little bit in the game against Carolina. So I'm not exactly sure how much that's going to play a part. However, in cold weather, aches and pains, they hurt a little bit more, right? So hopefully it does play a little bit of an impact here on Sunday night. I don't know. I just think it's being a little bit overblown. But I do think it is going to impact the game in a way. I just hope that it means that the Bears defense can keep things closer. And look, the offense has played back-to-back cold weather games. They played against Green Bay in a cold weather game. I'm sorry, the Detroit game. Yeah, the Detroit game was pretty. It wasn't that cold. I think it was like 40. But then they played the Browns, right? And that game was going to be like this game was here. And I think they won 31-3, if my memory is correct. So
Yeah.
To your point, you do get used to things. So hopefully that does help Chicago in this sense. That being said, moving forward, 5-6 years from now, it's probably not going to be a factor.
There's no doubt if the Bears win, it will be mentioned that bear weather contributed. I just hope it's not obvious that that's what was at play. Like, I don't want the game to just be sloppy because it's windy or snowy. I want to see two good teams play and the Bears be the better one. So we'll see.
That's right. And let's note, if Seattle loses to the 49ers, the NFC Championship game is going to be in Chicago.
Against the 49ers, too.
That's right.
So
I will be at this game on Sunday. It's going to be the first time I've been at a very cold game in a very, very long time. If anyone wants to drop some comments on suggestions on how to handle this bitter, bitter cold, I would appreciate it, as I will be tailgating from 12:30 until the game starts, and then being at the game from 5:30 to whenever it ends.
I think you just figured it out, Rob. It's the 5 hours of drinking. That's what keeps you warm.
That is probably what's going to happen. I plan on taking an edible or two, and I will probably be in a heated jacket. So we'll see how that works.
Be careful out there.
Well, and here's the thing, though. If they played in a dome, I wouldn't have to worry about this because it would be nice and toasty. And I think that's what's going to happen in the next few years. I know a lot of people are up in arms about, especially with all the way that this game was against Green Bay. Like, there was so much energy. Like, they're like, we need these outside weather games. Like, they're going to still play in Lambeau. I don't think Lambeau's ever going to go away until probably like 2060, 2070. That's probably when they'll finally decide to build a new stadium, because it's probably crumbling and falling in on itself. No team should build a new stadium right now without putting a dome on it, especially in cold weather areas, because you can't function as a business. It is a business, guys. Owning a stadium and only playing 8-9 games a year, plus maybe a few playoff games, and then a few concerts sprinkled in. You want that to be able to host events all year round. More revenue means more resources for this team.
So if that Bears Green Bay game was played in an indoor stadium, nobody would have been excited by what happened.
Exactly.
I don't think that's what made people excited. I'm so happy about what's happening on this field in an outdoor stadium. No. Yeah. And I didn't think, they did miss 2 field goals. I mean, there's definitely a factor in the kicking game when you come to Soldier Field. And, Santos, we've criticized him in certain ways, but he seems to know how to kick here. And other kickers come in and really don't. So maybe the Bears don't even win if that was in a dome. So I get it. But I'm just ready for it not to be about that. Have a good team, have a fast team. Take advantage of the fact that you play in a dome. I mean, like you said, it won't be long where probably that's where everyone has.
Yeah, we're not going to dive back into the stadium talk here. I just wanted to mention this very quickly before we end the show. Washington is building a new stadium, and they put out their rendering today, and it is a really cool, unique looking stadium. It plays homage to one of their older stadiums. I personally think that the Bears rendering, at least the Chicago version of it, is actually something I prefer. The images will be on the screen for you to watch. I don't have them on here as Justin and I are doing this live, but I'm going to put them up so you can see the comparison if you haven't seen it yet. But a lot of people are thinking that the Commanders are outdoing Chicago, and I'd like to see comments. Go to the comment section and let us know. Like, do you think that this rendering that Washington has put out is better than what the Chicago Bears are putting out? Do you think that because the Bears are using the same builder as the Allegiant Stadium and it's kind of doing the same basic thing, kind of a cookie cutter, Stepford Wives thing, is that a problem for you? Now, I will say, I think the difference is the way that they're putting this glass front over the Chicago stadium. And again, these are just renderings. It's not exactly what things might turn out to look like. But I love the glass front and the way that it looks wide open. Both of these have a glass dome, so like you actually can let natural light come in, so it feels like you are outside. That is one thing I think that's different with these new stadiums versus some of the old domes that were built where it's just like you're in a warehouse. This actually feels like you're outside.
So does Washington have a site where they're going to be building this stadium?
Yeah, they are advanced. They're ahead of
Then they have
Chicago
a
Bears
much
in this
better
situation.
rendering then, in my
Yeah.
opinion. What are you rendering if you don't even know where it will be? Oh well.
That's true. That's true. But you can put a rendering anywhere. In fact, I have seen, and I
I
haven't sent these to you
suppose
guys in the
I'll
chat.
talk to my dad about that. I don't know.
So, yeah, ask your dad. Who's an architect, by the way. Somebody put out there a AI version of the Chicago Bears rendering in Gary, Indiana, and it is hilarious. So I will put a link to that in the description if anyone wants to check that out.
All right. So, oh man, big game. It's got to be Bears, right?
It's got to be. There's a lot of stuff we didn't even talk about. I will just throw it out there. I'm a little bit nervous about the offensive line. You don't have Ozzie Trapillo for this game. It's going to be either Theo Benedette, which is who I'm assuming is going to start, and you're probably going to see a little bit of Braxton Jones at some point if they need some type of swing. Who is just coming back.
They've been using heavy sets and extra linemen, and I'm sure you throw everything out there. On that game-winning play, everybody, your right tackle for that play was Cole Kmet, and your tight end on the left side as an eligible receiver was Darnell Wright. And him pulling hard outside is what really sold the fact that, they're going to hit us with that burden wide receiver screen again. We don't even need to guard DJ Moore, who clearly they did need to guard, as he caught the game-winning touchdown for the second time this season against the Green Bay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the one stat, though, that makes me nervous is the defensive line for the Rams have 3 of the top 8 pass pressure guys over the wild card weekend. So out of the 8 people who had the most pressures, 3 of them came from the Rams. I will say Montez Sweat was one of those 8, so that is a good sign.
Carolina's offensive line was a little beat up, so it could come from that as well. So, but hey,
you got Jared Verse. I mean, he's you got Brian Young. Those are 2 legit pass rushers.
I trust that there'll be some schematic help for Benedict, not left out on an island for all these plays. So I have faith that they'll be able to handle that, and I hope the Bears can really get the running game going. And as we said, weather dependent, you might need to lean on that a little more. It hasn't been as good as it was for that stretch where it seemed like the Bears running game was pretty much the best in the league and was a serious weapon. It hasn't really been that last couple of weeks, so hopefully they can get that going.
Yeah, I think a little bit of fatigue might be in there. But the other thing is that the Rams defense has been allowing a lot of points. I think it's 27 points over the last 8 or 9 games. So look, the Bears offense can put up points. It's going to come down to who can execute better, right? And it's going to be a fun game, guys. At this point, we're gonna end the show, but I just want to say, no matter what happens, this has been a fun season, and I'm hoping that the Bears-Packers game was not the Bears Super Bowl. I hope that they're not looking at that game and just being like, all right, we're good. I'm excited as a Bears fan, and I'll be happy if the season ended the way it ends this weekend. I'll still be happy. And on a high note, but I want them to win. We want to see this continue to go. We want to continue to keep talking about Bears playoff football and not the NFL draft at this point, not the offseason. I got nothing else.
I think when they've made it this far, Rob, we want the Super Bowl to be the Bears Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think you should go out and do a Super Bowl shuffle yet.
That's not too far for me as a fan to look ahead. So, they win this one. Like you said, at the start of the game, we'll know if this potentially could lead to a NFC championship game in Chicago, or you might have to go to Seattle. But either way, that means you're in the NFC championship. How incredible. So
that's
all right.
Crazy. Until next week, guys. Well, until Sunday night, I don't know. Maybe hopefully Justin and Bob will be able to do a reaction video. If not, it'll probably be Monday.
Yeah.
I do have a special guest coming on next week talking more about the Bears Stadium. But yeah, until next time, bear down, claws up.
It's after Packers always.